Hello, hiya. Tonight's story is about Iraq and sanctions. And when you see politicians or officials on television, they all have the same great line. Well, you see, Saddam Hussein is mad, and we all must realise this. He's mad, absolutely mad. All barking, mad as a hatter. Yeah, mad. Great, I accept he is mad. Just my one question is, at what point did you decide he was mad? When you sold him the gas, or when he used it? But no, I think you'll find that a dictator's insanity is completely linked to the price of oil, actually. They've bombed him, they've done everything, they've had sanctions, and he's still there, and his grip on Iraq is stronger than ever. The CIA, MI6 have actually admitted, they've gone on record as saying, we try and sponsor dissident groups to rise up against Saddam Hussein. And I'm sure there are millions of Iraqis who are going, we want to get rid of Saddam Hussein. We try and rise up, but you keep fucking bombing us. Quick, to the palace, fuck the bombing. Take cover, take cover, take cover. Every time, rise up, take cover, rise up, take cover, rise up. And this myth of the smart bomb. You know, they just whittle their way down, bang, marvellous. If they're so smart, how come in the Gulf War they destroyed over 600 schools? You know, they just go right to the target. No, it's a huge fucking great lump of metal whizzing through the streets of Baghdad at 400 miles an hour with a computer at the front going, oh, is it A, the school, B, the nursery, C, the block of flats, or D, the presidential palace? I don't know. I don't know, Chris. I'll phone a friend. I'll phone a friend, Chris. One of the most obscene things is Clinton on this. At the height of the impeachment with Monica Lewinsky, at the height of it, he ordered the bombing of Iraq on Operation Desert Fox. At the height of that, don't look here, look there. At the height, people died. People died because somebody sucked his cock. They sucked his cock. Ooh, baby, yeah. Would you get me Bomber Command, please? And the sanctions are really the crucial thing here. Because the sanctions on Iraq mean nothing gets into Iraq without an export license, unless you smuggle it in. You need an export license for everything. Ping pong balls, pencils, pencil sharpeners, notepads, medical journals, sanitary towels. Sanitary towels, well, he could use them, couldn't he? Yeah. Some of them got wings, you see. Open them up, strap on a scarf. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you know, the cunning thing is when they land and kill everyone, they soak up the blood. You hardly know it's breathing. Earlier this year, UNICEF brought out a report. They estimate, they can't be sure, they estimate the number of children under 5 who have died as a consequence of sanctions is somewhere between 250,000 and 500,000. This is a humanitarian fucking disaster. So we met these people who actually break sanctions, who go out there, and they're brilliant. They're called Voices in the Wilderness. Top people, Christians, but lovely. Do you know what I mean? No, they are. They're people who actually bust sanctions. They take medicines and stuff through without export license, and they challenge the authorities on it. And these people from Voices in the Wilderness in America have exported medicines, they've exported toys, they've taken out stuff like that. And for the heinous crime of taking out those toys and medicines, for the heinous crime of importing an Iraqi water bottle and an Iraqi stamp, they have been fined nearly $200,000. So we've gone over to Washington to talk to these people. And while we're in Washington, we think, right, we want to talk to some senators, we want to talk to some congressmen, we want to ask them about this. So we get to the White House. Now, the White House is really odd. For a start, it's off cream. Then, right, now it is. So when you go in there, we all had to troop in there, and you go through on the pavement, you go through a security door, and you're in this little railinged compound with this huge, like, police security block with tinted windows. And all the crew get passed through security. And they get through. And I'm left waiting there. And I'm leaning against the railings thinking, shit, I'm not going to get through. I'm going to blow it. I'm going to blow it. Leaning against the railing. And I suddenly hear this voice behind me going, fucking hell, it's Mark Thomas. And there's 3 English lads going, you're not fucking with them, are ya? You're not having a go, are ya? Oh, man, you're taking the piss out. Will you keep it down? If we had a scale of 0 to 10, if 0 was good and 10 was totally evil, where would Saddam Hussein come roughly in your estimation?
Yeah, I'm a little wary of metaphors or specific characterizations, Mark, but I think clearly he's one of the most brutal dictators in the world.
So about an 8 or a 9, roughly?
Well, he's on the higher end.
If you have a situation where people say, oh, look, Iraqis are dying because of these sanctions.
Well, actually, I'm glad you brought that up because we released yesterday at the State Department a comprehensive report that details exactly where Iraqi revenues have gone, specifically under the Oil for Food program. And we've seen evidence over the last couple of weeks that have been reported in the international press that there's been black market selling of the children's food and medicine that Iraq is supposed to be buying. And we have evidence that he's building more palaces, one with Ferris wheels and swimming pools. And
so he's building a fun fair?
He's building amusement parks.
This is actually cocking a snook directly at the West and saying, I can do this, so I'll do whatever I like.
Well, he's contained. He's not able to threaten his neighbors. We've demonstrated a credible threat of force.
But he's got a fun fair.
Well, it's a serious problem.
That Ferris wheel. Is that weird or what? It's weird that he's got it, and it's weird that they're using it as a propaganda tool. Because you've got Clinton going, yeah, baby, bomb them. And then you've got Saddam going, wee, I win, I have a Ferris wheel, wee! And you just think this is completely bizarre. And the thing is about all the policy is the fact that he's built a Ferris wheel surely shows that they haven't done anything to alter him and his power. Not a fact that David accepts. So can we just continue playing? Let me get this completely straight. This is Saddam's fault.
Yes.
The sanctions have not actually contributed to child mortality.
Yes.
If someone takes things out without an export license, they're chipping away at the policy. They're trying to chip away.
That's right.
I suppose really they hope that it is the spearhead that a humanitarian breach of sanctions can spearhead through, and that if they were successful, they would get through with toys, and then sanctions will be lifted, and then eventually the practical implications of that are Saddam, at the moment, if that was done now, Saddam would rearm. Isn't that the case?
Your question is so disjointed, to be honest. I'm not sure exactly what you're asking. If people ship toys in,
yes, there are people
then
who
that's somehow going to rearm Saddam?
No. There are people who... I
don't think you can use Beanie Babies against, your enemies.
Well, this was, strangely, this was what was given to me by someone today. If you'd like to have that. This was actually given to me today by someone who said, I'm going out to Iraq and I'm going to take this out and I will not do it with an export license. What do you say to that person?
I don't know enough about the facts to comment, to be honest with you.
What would you say to the person if they were here?
Well, I think there's got to be a reasonable standard applied to what there's a military use, where there's a dual use that could help Saddam Hussein's. You can put that down.
Sorry.
Who that can help Saddam's war machine or not? Then that would be. Let me finish. That would be. Clearly a violation of sanctions.
I completely agree with you. This could not in any way be construed as dual use. But, in a way, it is in propaganda terms. Because Saddam will see this. He will see...
Is Iraqi children playing with American toys?
Yeah.
I do have to go. I apologize. I got a 4 o'clock meeting, so
we've kept you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank
I
you.
do appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks a lot. Right, we get into the van and we're going to peg across town to get to Congress. Suddenly, we get this phone call, and it's David Levy on the phone. It is not appropriate to use a Beanie Baby in an interview. Sorry, you do not use a Beanie Baby in an interview. You do not use props or toys. Well, it's pretty much the vogue in Europe at the moment. So we peg over to Congress, where we're speaking to this guy called Senator Menendez, who will be able to define whether exporting without the export license is actually punishable in law. This is a woman who actually went over to Iraq, broke sanctions, and we said to her, could you actually film it? If you're going to break sanctions, we want to see it. And she has actually given this, I regard this as evidence.
Inside this hospital, there's a little boy named Bashar. And I think I have inside my bag some of the medicine that he needs. He has cancer. And my government says that if I give Bashar these medicines, that I'm violating the United States law. I can tell you that I don't believe that what I'm about to do is a criminal action. I believe these sanctions themselves are criminal. They are the weapon of mass destruction in Iraq today.
She's an American citizen. She is violating the law.
What I'm asking you is to come out into the open about this.
Hopefully we can get the committee chair of jurisdiction, who is a Republican. As the Republicans control the majority in the House, that means they have every chairmanship. That means they control the agendas. But we will certainly urge them to do it because, in fact, it is in the national interests of our country and, for that fact, of the Western world, to contain Saddam Hussein. And that means not allowing a whole host of porous efforts to take place in which many others feel that they can willfully and without any consequence go ahead and violate the law.
There's a law in Britain which is, and I'll tell you the law, it is intent to conspire to export without an export licence. And I thought, ooh, what's that? Intent to conspire. What exactly is this law? What does it mean? If I want to take out something to Iraq and I think about it, am I intending to? So I've got a bag of medicines and equipment and stuff, and I've got a ticket to Amman in Jordan where it could go on. So I thought, start small, work your way up. So I phoned up Crime Stoppers.
This is the Metropolitan Police Crime Stoppers Unit at New Scotland Yard.
I said, hello, I need to speak to someone urgently. I've got evidence that someone's attempting to conspire to take stuff out to Iraq without a licence. This is very serious. I said, absolutely. He said, you've got evidence? I said, right, yeah, I have. He said, what's the name of the person? The person's name is Mark Thomas. I'll be completely honest with you, right? I'm Mark Thomas. Why are you calling? Well, I need to work out. Should I hand myself in? What do I do? Morally, I feel I should do this. What do I do legally? I don't want to break the law. What should I think you should go to Scotland Yard, sir. Right, so we peg off. Peg off to Scotland Yard, rush in there with me bag, with me ticket. Go, I've got a ticket here to Amman, I've got the medicines here, I'm going to take them out to Iraq. Stop me! And that you need to speak to the DTI. So go over to the DTI. And on the way there, I think, well, you know, if I have broken the law, I should take the full consequences. So I'll get changed into me overnight gear of pyjamas and sort of dressing gown, slippers. Take a little overnight bag in with me for the stay. So I'm sitting there. Eventually, this bloke comes over and he goes, what's it about, mate? And I said, well, what it's about is I might be taking this stuff out to Iraq with medicines, ticket, intent. Could have broken the law. I'm handing myself in. Put me in forward open. Just don't make me share with Jonathan Aitken. Fair. Quid pro quo. And they said, well, no, really, you need to speak to Customs and Excise. I went, all right, off we go. So we go over to Customs and Excise, phone up this guy and say, look, I've got evidence here in my bag about someone who's going to break sanctions in Iraq. He said, you better come in. He said, I'll take you through. You're going to meet the chief investigator for the investigations unit. All right. And we're sitting in this meeting room. These guys are sort of 45 odd, you know, chain smoking, stripy shirts, white collars, cuffs. Bit Sweeney, Carter, coffee, you know. I said, I have evidence in this bag of someone conspiring to actually having intent to conspire to export without an export licence. He said, oh, yeah. I said, yeah. I said, in here is medicines and a ticket to Amman. They said, well, you see, the thing about intent to conspire to export without an export licence, the thing you have to understand about that's only used retrospectively once someone has actually attempted to leave the country and break sanctions. I said, oh, right. I said, but just as a matter of interest, there were some people who took drugs and medicines out to Iraq. When they came back, they were arrested here. They had a whole load of evidence that said they actually did it. They admitted to it. Why weren't they prosecuted? I couldn't answer that. We just prepared a casework, then we send it over to the Attorney General. If you want to find out, talk to the Attorney General. Got a haircut, got a silver tooth, gonna get myself. Park it up here. Right, I'm on. Trying to get themselves
Hello, Attorney General's chambers?
Can I speak to the Attorney General, please? Hello there. Hiya.
Ask what you do.
My name's Mark Tyson from Channel 4. I'm trying to present evidence that shows that I could be in breach of the law over sanctions to Iraq.
As it stands at the moment, sir, you can't really go around signing yourself to the railings, okay? You can actually be arrested for...
I've been trying to be arrested for the whole day.
Yeah, but that's not the point,
I've got to tell you.
I'd rather not arrest you.
I'd rather you didn't as well. I'd rather be arrested for the Iraq.
But if you could actually remove yourself from this, unhandcuff yourself and get out of this, that would be...
If you could just hold on half a second for this one.
Hello, Rupert Campbell.
Oh, hello. My name's Mark Thomas from Channel 4.
Yeah.
I've got some medicines.
Medicine?
I have a ticket to Iraq. I have a ticket to Amman, and we have set up ready the journey from Amman into Baghdad, and I'm going to break sanctions. Now, I've been trying to get someone to come and arrest us.
Right.
To stop me, because it seems to me pointless that we either have the law or we don't. What I'm asking basically is there a political decision not to prosecute because you are frightened of publicity?
That's a very leading question. I think
Quite straightforward.
you really need to talk to customs because they're the ones who are dealing with this.
But it's your decision to prosecute, isn't it?
Yes, but we can't make any decision if no papers are presented to us.
Papers must have been presented to you.
Well, then I think I'm going to have to go and have a word with a couple of lawyers here and find out whether any papers have been presented to us.
Okay.
We're then packing up the gear, we're sort of rolling the cage back into the truck. And he phones back.
So you have no stuff that's come over from you for the Attorney General to consider whether to prosecute or not?
No.
You've never had any?
We have had in the past, yes.
You
but
have had?
But not recently.
You have had regarding breaking sanctions with medical supplies?
In the past, yes.
Were they prosecuted?
No.
Why was that decision taken not to prosecute?
It was a decision taken back in May 1998, and the decision was that it was not the thing at the time. It was not felt that it was needed.
If I bring round papers of the case, will you accept them and look at them?
No, you have to. The process starts with customs and excise. How many times do I have to say this? The process starts.
Yeah,
with
absolutely,
customs
and it ends
excise.
with you, and it's ended so far with no prosecutions.
You're sounding like a real Nazi, Mark. I mean, what are you after here?
I want to know what you're going to do, and is the reason that you're not doing anything is because if you put those people into court, then they're going to say we did it because the United Nations are saying 500,000 children have died as a result of sanctions.
Mark, I'm not getting into this. I'm afraid I've been over this with you many, many times. We're going round and round in circles. The process starts with customs. Go and talk to them. I'm going to have to hang up the phone, I'm afraid, because this is not getting us anywhere. Okay?
Thanks for your time.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
He said I sound like a Nazi, and is that actionable?
So, we thought we want to find out exactly where the law is. What is the point, exact point, that you actually break sanctions? When you take something without an export license, where is it? So, I swallowed my pride and went on the big breakfast the other morning.
What's this here for? Well, what it is we're filming today, actually, and this bear, after the show, we're going out. This is a little girl. She's in the Al-Masur Children's Hospital in Baghdad, and we're going to try and get this bear out to her. We're taking it on the Eurostar. It goes to France, it gets given to a bloke there, and he's going to try and take it to Baghdad. Now, we're doing it without an export licence.
You're on your way to do this?
Yeah, we're on our way today. This is
you got
this
some
is B-Sharp.
haven't you?
Yeah, well, we don't actually quite know how illegal it is yet.
As far as we're concerned, it's a bear to start off with, so it wouldn't come under our scope of control here at export licensing.
Right.
You would have to speak to the Ministry of Agriculture on that one.
Right.
Okay, as far as the bear's concerned.
So I have to talk to the Ministry of Agriculture
Yeah, that's
to find out if the bear...
Right.
So you don't licence it?
Not a bear, no. I mean, we don't
It's not a
do
real
that.
one. It's not a real one. No, it's not a real one. It's a toy.
It's a toy bear.
Yeah, no, it's not a real bear. Have my hand off.
You may well need an export license. In the UK, that's issued by the Department of Trade and Industry. Well, what we suggest you do is you check the situation with French customs when you arrive there.
But I'm perfectly legal till I get to France, yeah?
The enforcement action is taken by the country of departure from the European community, basically, which in this case happens to be France.
So the bear is completely legal to Paris, yeah?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Now, this all happened Thursday, right? Friday, we phone up the DTI, because I've got a couple of questions. I need to ask them about whether we can get stuff out to Oman without an export licence, and then someone from Iraq nips down, collects it, and goes off. And the bloke there said to us, look, this is only a provisional. He said, I need to consult about this, but, and this is what he said, if it is known that any item is going to Iraq from the UK, an application must be made for a UK export licence beforehand. Which sounds to be in contradiction to the Customs and Excise. We were thinking, well, what's going on here? Because, like, one bit of the government saying one thing, another bit of the government saying something, and it's over a teddy. It's over a teddy. They must have dragged people out of meetings when we started calling round. High-powered officials. We've got a crisis with the teddy. Get them out. Oh, God, have we got a teddy person now? I don't know. Who knows teddy law? I don't know teddy law. We need an appointee of teddy law. Can they take a teddy out without an export line? I don't know. We need to find out. Legal clarification. Get to the Attorney General. He said we have to go back to the Customs and Excise. Oh, God, we need law on the teddy. A fucking teddy! And it highlights I think it just highlights the total absurdity of it all. And I don't know, last week, as you know, we were arguing for economic sanctions to be brought in for Burma because the people of Burma asked for them. And there is evidence that shows that it would cut off directly the money supplied to the military. The sanctions, the bombing in Iraq has not worked. Saddam Hussein is stronger on his grip of Iraq than ever before. He's in control there. He hasn't gone, and the people there are being caught between him and the sanctions. 250,000 to 500,000 under fives have died. And I think the answer is very, very simple. The West simply has to do two things. You have to lift the sanctions on Iraq. You have to let them trade. You have to let them repair the country. And the other thing the West has to do, and they won't like it, but I think it's very important, and they'll find it unusual, but I think they need to do it. This time, really make sure you don't sell him any fucking guns.
So one time that stays in my memory so much is being with a doctor who is a hero. I mean, he could have left. He's an older fellow, and he decided to stay with this situation. Very gentle man, and he was at the bedside of a woman who was keening and sobbing because her 7-month-old baby, who really looked like a 7-month-old fetus, Friel was her name, had suffered a cardiac arrest. The child had initially a small infection, but it had become full-body septicemia. And the doctor gave the baby artificial resuscitation, and the mother had this real moment of hope on her face. And then the doctor had to tell her, I'm sorry, your child can be with you for minutes, maybe hours, but this child cannot live. We have not the oxygen. We have not the tube. And then he just walked away shattered. And she pulled me down on the bed next to her. And my shoulder was damp from her tears. And she sat there holding in her hand the tube that they did have. And that tube was the size of a pencil. But little Friel, emaciated as she was, had a nostril the size of the point of the pencil. So the tube was completely irrelevant and useless. And so she just sobbed and sobbed. And a British team member was with me. And I remember he kind of had a rising look of horror on his face. And then he said, I think I understand. It's a death row for infants, isn't it? And there are some politicians, some figures in political life here, who will sometimes go to a death row in this country, and as a way to win an election, they'll witness the execution of someone, and I would never favor that, but I want to know, is there just one that would go over to an Iraqi hospital and witness the execution of these children and come out and say, that was just, that was right, I'm for it? I don't think so.